So, for learning exercise 6, we're going to return to everyone's favorite song. Yes, the Hokey Pokey is back. So again, if you want to remind yourself, there are nice links in here to Hokey Pokey that you can sing along with. Okay, so attached to the bottom of this exercise is the Learning Exercise 6 Hokey Pokey 2 package. Um, it basically starts off where we left off last time. So actually, if you have last time's package, you could probably just use that. Um, so we have a singer class here, and then we have a hokey pokey class here. Uh, and we have a refrain method and a couple verse methods here. Um, and then we have a full song method that calls each verse, verse 1, and the refrain, verse 2, refrain, verse 3, refrain, etc. So that's what we ended up. I've deleted out the Hokey Pokey 1 method class from the previous project here, just to make things a little more simplified. And then we're going to be modifying some things with this Hokey Pokey class. So let's see what our task is. So download the project app. Now, let's look at our verses here inside Hokey Pokey. Um, so we call refrain again and again and again. We use that one method over and over again because it always has to do the exact same thing, which makes our life easier. But the verses are all slightly different. So we have verse 1 that says, put your right foot in, put your right foot out, put your right foot in and shake it all about. So, and then we have verse 2, which says the exact same thing, but it says left foot. So the only difference between this verse and this verse, this two sets of code, is the body part, right foot or left foot. So the body part's different. Same with verse 3, it's the same thing, but right hand. So we're going to create a generic verse method. So up here, I'm just going to add a new method, public void still, and call it verse. Now again, if I was returning a value, I would make it something not void here, but verse. I'm just going to call it verse without any numbers on it because this will eventually work for all of our verses here. Now, I'm going to add a parameter here. Now, what is different each time is these words, left foot, right hand, whole body, different things are stuck in here. So I'm going to add a parameter. So inside the parentheses here, I'm going to declare it's like a variable, but it's initialized from outside this method. So I'm going to store some words. So I'm going to make it a string variable, and I'm calling it body part. Now I'm going to copy this code here and modify it. So where I used to say put your right foot, instead of right foot, I'm going to use this body part parameter. So you can assume that this body part, this string variable, is initialized when this method is run each time with a different body part. So now here, instead of saying right foot, I'm going to do some concatenation. I'm going to go a quote, double quote, plus body part plus quote. Let's see if this makes sense. It'll say put your, and then I'll use the body part variable. So I don't want that in quotes because I want to have that variable there. And then it'll start up the quotes again in. And same here, everywhere where it says right foot, I'm going to replace that with the body part variable or parameter. And there's one more down here. Okay, so I stick my body parts here. So this verse should work for any body part, assuming I pass the right parameter in here. So now let's look at how we'll call this verse down in our full song method down here. So down in the full song here, we were calling verse 1 without any parameters. We're going to change that. We're going to just say verse. And now verse requires a parameter inside the parentheses. So I'm going to say, um, so the first thing we do is we do our right foot. So I'm going to say right foot here. So what'll happen is that when we get to this method, we'll start call full song. We'll go to this first line. It'll say verse. It'll go find the verse method up here. Here's the verse method. But it'll also take this argument, this actual parameter right foot, this string, the string of words, take right foot and pass it up here to body part and initialize body part with that. So body part will be set to right foot at the start of my method. And then I'll go through the method and it'll say put your body part, which has been set to right foot, in, out, and everything. So now I don't need this verse 1 anymore. I've replaced it with this generic verse. And I can do this. I can do this call again and again. Now, in the second verse, we said left foot. So I can say, replace this call to verse 2 with a call to just the generic verse with left foot. Same with verse 3 is right hand. I can just call right hand. What's for left hand? I can call verse 4 with left hand. And verse 5 is whole body, whole self, I guess is what the term I'm using. So now I'm calling the verse each time, and I can actually delete all of these verses that I have here. So I don't need these specific verses because now I have a generic verse object. You should be compiling as you do this. Make sure there's no errors. So here I've got an error, class or interface enum expected. So that's a weird error. It's kind of hard to see. One of the things you get used to is that anything having to do with class definition usually means that you ended your class definition too early. So here I've declared my class and I ended it up. I can see the blue highlighting here. There's an extra parentheses. When I was deleting things, that wasn't there. So again, it's good to compile frequently, try to catch these errors as we're doing things and see if we can get that. Okay, now it's compiling fine. So now I just have a single refrain method without any parameters and a single verse method with one parameter here for the body part, and I can call this in different ways. And here's my full song method here. Let's see how we're doing. So task 2 was to create the generic verse. Task 3 was to was to edit that verse with the right code. So we put in the body part there. We did that. Task 4 was to modify the full song method to call the new generic verse methods, and we've done that. And then task 5 is to delete all the old verse methods, and we've done that. So now we can also run this from the singer class and see how that works. So I'm going to go back into BlueJ here. I'm going to close off this hokey pokey object I have. I'm going to recompile things. Now here's my singer object. Right now get this on the screen. Like the main routine creates a song object and calls full song. So if I just say do the main method, it'll just play the whole hokey pokey song, standard song here. But I can actually have some fun with this, and this is your job here. Go into Singer. So rather than calling the full song method, we can call some of the verses. We can just say song.verse and pass in. So rather than putting your your right foot, let's put your big toe in there or something like that. So I can run that, and then I can call the refrain. I want to just compile this and see if it's going to work. Now there's an error in here. So I've got big toe. I'm going to look, it's calling verse, song.verse. I can go over here to hokey pokey. Um, Verse should take a string for the body part. Over here, it said parenthesis expects to, again, not a very helpful um, error message. But what this means is that I'm passing in a string, but it's a big toe. Doesn't know what that is because it's not in quotes. So I have to always remember to put strings in double quotes. So I'm going to say big toe in double quotes there. Try to compile it. So again, sometimes your methods here aren't, or the error methods aren't the best. Cannot find symbol refrain. Um, so why can't it find refrain? Well, again, refrains, I can go look. Refrain is in this method. It's in the hokey pokey method. I should be able to call it directly there. But again, um, I want to make sure I'm referring to my object, and so I'm not saying song.refrain here. So when you're inside an object, you can call methods directly. You can just say refrain or verse because those methods are defined inside this object. So here's my class, and the refrain's right up here, and the verse is right up here. But when I'm outside in another class, I have to declare an object of that class, new hokey pokey object named song, and when I call things, I have to say song dot, then the method name, and so I have to make sure I say that each time. So the way you call methods vary depending on if you're inside um, this class or if you created an object of that class in another class and referring it. So now I've got song and refrain, compile that, that should work. So now I should be able to go back here, create a new, or just run the main method here, say OK. And it's displaying the big toe verse. So your job is to do some other fun body parts here. I can do another verse, song dot verse, and I can put my ears in and out, and then do the refrain. So again, what's nice with methods is that and parameters, I can make these kind of generic methods which actually give me more power to do things I didn't think of before. I can now make up my own version of this song and compile it with different body parts. So now we can run this again and make up my funny version. So your job here, let's go back here, is to make up a funny version of this song with different body parts in it. So, and then package that whole thing up and submit it when you're done.